Brent, where does this achievement rank with everything else you've achieved in the game?
It's a good question. I actually haven't thought about it. Look, obviously the premiership's the main thing. It's probably why we play football, just to win a premiership. I've been lucky enough to win one of them. So, look, I certainly didn't set out my goals when I first started playing football to play 311 games. Just to get drafted was a goal, then one game. And obviously you build, you set little blocks and hopefully get over them as you go. But I didn't think I'd ever reach 300 games. And I mean, I was thinking about it a little bit last night with Glenn Archer, Adam Simpson and Wayne Shimmerbush, the other three players that played 300 games at the club. It's a pretty impressive list that I'm sitting on now, and a little bit humbled and honoured to be there as well.
Mark Taylor declared on 334 to share the record with Don Bradman, and he was hanging up the boots this week. Share it with Glenn.
Good idea.
No, I'm not going to do that. I'll be certainly seeing out this season anyway, and we'll take it from there.
Glenn, what sort of achievement in your eyes is Clement's been able to do for the footy club?
Yeah, it's massive. I think back to '96 when Boomer first walked in the club, and I know you don't want to. He hates me emphasising his height, but he walked in that day and actually thought he was a kid trying to get autographs because he was 4 foot tall and looked about 14. So for him to come from where he started to where he is now, it's an amazing achievement. Particularly, you look at the modern day recruiting policies, and they have to be 6 foot tall and athletic and all this sort of stuff. And so, for him to do what he's done has been remarkable. 5 best and fairest at the footy club, more than any other player at the footy club. All Australians and premierships. He's done it all.
What's been able to set him apart from most blokes that you think?
I think his professionalism, his dedication to training, his never say die attitude out on the footy field. I think early on when he started to make a name for himself, he used to get the hard tags and that troubled him, but he definitely worked through that, through guts and determination. I know he's got all the skill in the world, but his competitiveness and his will to run his opponent into the ground is second to none that I've seen.
Did you ever catch him, Brent?
No, fortunately I wasn't given that task. I had to play on the players who were a little bit slower than Boomer. So.
Did whack me once.
Well, that I could do. I couldn't catch you though.
Brad, can I just ask you about your perceptions of Boomer before you got here versus the reality once you got to know him?
Yeah, I think that the thing when you come to a new club is you observe players from other clubs from afar. Most of the time with admiration for the way they go about their task, and sometimes you can hold them in higher esteem because you see all the good things they do. And when you meet them and you observe them very closely, that's when you first get to observe their flaws and their shortcomings. With Boomer, I was pleasantly surprised that he's a terrific team player. His professionalism is second to none, and I like to think that I played with some players that are as professional as anyone going around. And Boomer is certainly on par with the very best I ever played with in that area. So he exceeded my expectations because I knew all the flashy things he did. I knew all the brilliant things he did. I'd observed them for a long period of time over his 300-game career. But it's the things behind closed doors that the general public don't see that have impressed me the most. He's an outstanding worker, terrific team ethic, and really makes others around him better. And that's really what you want a captain to do. Captain ultimately leads by example, and Boomer's done that over a long period of time.
Do you feel like, Boomer, you've had sort of 2 distinct phases of your career? You were a young player in a champion side, and in the second half it's sort of been the older bloke sort of holding up a youngish side for a lot of that time.
Yeah, it certainly changed a fair bit, not just in terms of our team, but the whole game's changed so much as well. But yeah, I come to a pretty good club in 1996, pretty successful. As I mentioned, playing in a premiership. I think you boys played in 7 prelims in a row or whatever it was. It was absolutely amazing, and probably being a little bit naive, thinking that I'd be a 4 or 5 time premiership player because it was pretty easy. Well, it wasn't easy, but playing in such a good team, it felt a lot easier. And then obviously when you get a little bit older and you're in a leadership role, whether it's in the leadership group or captain, you have to start changing a little bit in terms of going outside yourself, and you're not just that young kid anymore that comes down to the football club and gets everyone else to help you. You've got to help other people, and has changed a lot, but it's been absolutely fantastic. I've loved the change.
Brent, congratulations, obviously. Can you remember game one? Take us through that.
Yeah, I can. I'll be very quick. It was one handball. I was at the MCG in 1996 in round 22. Played about 15 minutes. Back then, Dennis Pagan was the coach, obviously, and I come on for 5 minutes, didn't get near it, straight off. Back on for another 5, didn't get near it, straight off, and then come on and got my first stat, was a handball. Around about half back at the MCG, so I can remember it. Yeah, I can remember it pretty clearly.
So what was it like, the G, you're there, you're on the surface, I mean, could you believe it was happening?
Oh, I guess, as I said before, my whole life was football. My dad was, a pretty good local footballer, and I just grew up watching football and watching my dad play, and that's all I ever wanted to do. And when I got the opportunity to be drafted, it was absolutely a dream come true. But it was a long year in the reserves. I think I was 64 kilos when I arrived, so I had to do a fair bit of work. But when I got that one chance, it was fantastic, and I look back on it, and it was just like a boy in a candy shop, you could say.
Have you found this season one of the more frustrating you've had, given that there's obvious talent in the next year, but you're not getting the results?
Yeah, we're not getting the results, but we're playing some good football. That's the good thing about it. I know last week going down by a point, it could have went either way. I think we've lost a couple of more games by under 10 points, and we're playing some fantastic football. I know we're on the right track. That's the good thing about it, and it only takes 1 week to turn it around, and we're hoping it's this week.
Glenn, you play with some of the greats of the club. Where do you rank Brent among that group?
Obviously Wayne Carey's the best player I've ever seen, but he sort of sits up on his own, and then there's a gap to, I reckon, Boomer, maybe Malcolm Blight, Keith Gregg, but I reckon they're all on a par. He's obviously take Wayne away is obviously the greatest player that's played for our club, in my opinion. Been lucky enough to play with some fantastic players, but Boomer sits right at the top for sure, and I think his record speaks for itself.
So for you personally, it's good to see someone like Brent. If anyone can break the record, good to have someone like him do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, if someone of his ilk is going to take over the record, there's no better person to do it.
So Brent, some pretty big names I just mentioned there. How does it make you feel to know that your name's alongside theirs?
Yeah, it's pretty humbling, obviously, when you hear someone like Glenn, who's right up there himself, obviously the shin bone of the century, and one of the all-time greats of this football club, speaking about me in that regard. It's pretty embarrassing, to tell you the truth.
Right. Do you marvel the way Boomer's been able to, or the level he's been able to achieve sort of late in his career? Do you envisage to be able to sort of play on for another couple?
Oh, absolutely. Brent's a realist in the way he approaches his footy. He's the ultimate professional. So, I don't think Boom will put a limit on how long he's going to play for. But he certainly won't be, looking too far into the future. And that's the way he approaches his footy. He approaches every training session as if it's going to be his last. And he certainly approaches every game as if it's going to be his last. And I think that's why it's made him such a good player, that he doesn't look too long term. He certainly stays in the present and trains as hard as he possibly can. And right at the moment, he's showing no signs of slowing up. He's showing no signs of that the end is near. So I think he can definitely, while he is able to prepare and train the way he is, there's no reason why he can't keep performing at the same high level. And I think potentially we write off our champions a little bit too early. And usually you can see signs of players dropping off, and I haven't seen anything like that with Brent. So as long as he continues to train hard, I think he'll play well and he can keep playing.
Brent, were you hurt by the comments Dermot Burton made last week?
Yeah, I wasn't hurt by the comments he made on a personal attack on me, because that's fine. I think I said it today, I've had 100 clips across the back of the head, and I'll probably have a couple of hundred more before I finish. So that's fine. And I've spoken to Dermot about it. Probably the thing that I didn't like about it was when he spoke about the culture and the legacy that I would leave would be a selfish one, when I don't see how people from outside a football club can really comment on that, because obviously they've got not a lot of idea about what happens inside the football club. And me leaving a legacy of selfishness or creating a culture of that is certainly 100% incorrect of what I'm trying to achieve right now at this football club.
What was his sort of reaction when you had a chat?
No, I've got a lot of respect for Dermy. He's obviously he's a great footballer, but I just made it clear that I thought those comments was incorrect, and we had a good chat about it, and it was good to make the phone call and have a chat with him.
When Gents on the other side, want to give him a clip, or
Sorry, I
do you
missed that.
feel like giving Dermot a call yourself and having a word?
Oh, I did feel like doing that, and I did. Purely because of the reasons Brent's just stated. I'm not going to call every journalist or every football writer or every media expert that has an opinion that differs to mine, because that's going to happen regularly, and that should happen. That's good, healthy debate, and football is an opinion-based game. So I have no issue with anyone's opinion. But I do take exception to the fact that the legacy that Brent will leave was being slandered, if you like, and that it was insinuated that he would leave a poor legacy and a selfish legacy, because nothing could be further from the truth. If you want to ask about Brent's legacy, ask the players, ask the coaches, and ask some of the ex-players that play with him. I mean, ask Glenn. Glenn played with him and knows him better than I do. So they're the people you should be asking, and they're the people whose opinion on Brent's legacy you should be listening to.
Brent, did Dermot explain himself? Did he explain things to you? Or say sorry?
No, certainly didn't say sorry, but that's you don't ring for an apology. That's, as Brad said, the opinion in football is exactly that. It's an opinion, and he's not right or he's not wrong. I've got my opinions on a lot of things, and again, I'm not right or wrong as well. But no, we just spoke about it, and I just wanted to make clear that the comments that he made was from outside of our football club, and I couldn't see how he could make those comments when he wasn't involved in our football club. And that was the main point I was trying to get across. As I said, I'm not too fussed if people want to have pot shots and criticise me. That's football. I've been doing it for a long time, and I understand all that.
What was your assessment of those comments about Bergman for yourself?
Yeah, frustrating, and similar to what Brent said. And that's something that frustrates me enormously, is the opinions that some people can have when they talk about players and coaches, like that bloke can't coach, and that can come from the media, or this is a supporter or someone on Talkback Radio, and I always sit back and think, how would you know? You're not actually there 24 hours a day. You don't see it from the inner sanctum. And Dermy's obviously just seen something on one clip that made to him have looked selfish, but you can't brand someone's 16-year career might turn into a 20-year career with something like that when it was completely false. And like Brad said, I've played with Brent for 16 years and couldn't be further from the truth.
Brent, what was the chronology of it? When did you sort of find out, and when did you give him the call?
I spoke to Donald on Sunday, and he said, "Did you read the paper?" And I said, "No, I haven't. I don't usually read the paper or watch the footy shows and stuff when we lose. It eats away at me a little bit, and it's just the way I am." And then so I just spoke to Donald, and it sort of just stemmed from there, and had a quick chat with Heath about it, and we sort of just took it from there. I just thought it was the right thing just to make the call and sort of let him know where I was coming from.
So you did it on that day?
I think it was the Monday or the Tuesday.
Brett, if you had to sort of isolate one aspect of Burn's game that defined it, what would it be?
Well, I think it's a difficult question to answer, Rowan, because I think on field it's his ability to break lines, to run with the ball, to really break open the opposition. It's interesting we're talking about this topic because we look to players' strengths and weaknesses when we coach them, and Brent's strength is his ability to evade tackles, his ability to run and bounce the ball, and his ability to kick that team lifting goal when we really need it. So, he's done that with alarming regularity. So, we really encourage Boomer to play to his strengths. His strengths are to evade tackles, to beat tackles, to run and bounce the ball and kick great goals for us. And so we set the team structure up around that. And that's why when we're talking about all this, opinions are great, and opinions are, everyone's entitled to them. But you should take exception to things. If you take exception to the things Boomer does on field, well, speak to me about it. Because, and if you disagree with it, well then, you can disagree with me. But the things Boomer does on field, I instruct him to do and I encourage him to do. So you should take exception with my coaching if that's the issue. But in terms of the type of player Boomer is, it's that line breaking, ability to run and carry the ball that sets him apart. And as I said earlier, off field, it's his ability just to get himself up on a daily basis. And people don't realise when they see champions in any sport or any field of endeavour for that matter, that it's not just the brilliant things they do out on the stage, out on the where they're exposed to the public. It's the boring daily routines they go through, and their Boomer's ability just to go through those daily routines and do it to the best of his ability, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, it just sets him apart from everyone else, because not many other people can do that like he does. And it's just his ability to keep backing up time after time, and that's in the end what sets him apart from everyone else.
Right, just on the weekend, Adelaide, your opponents this Sunday, how have you seen their season so far?
Well, we think Adelaide are a very capable side. Their ability, well, I would describe them as the most disciplined, structured side in the competition. So I've got a lot of respect for Neil Craig as a coach. I think he sets them up very well. I think they've had some injury concerns, which Adelaide wouldn't use as an excuse, but they're a capable side, and we saw from the first 3 quarters against Collingwood just how capable they can be. So we've got to be right on our guard and make sure we get on the front foot.
I'm not sure anyone saw that Michael Ferreiro, but what were your thoughts on the suspension now?
The match review panel have made their verdict on that. It's fair to say I was extremely disappointed, but the system's set up that if you challenge that, we take a risk of it becoming 2 weeks instead of 1. So we're extremely disappointed with the decision. I think it's an incident. If you dig it up, Jay, and have a look at it, you'll find it happens pretty regularly in footy. So it was a disappointing decision, but one we're going to have to live with.
Brad, who's likely to come in to replace Ferrero and Prato on that point?
Yeah, we'll have to look at a bit of a restructure there, because they're 2 important players in our defence. So, Cameron Richardson's been in really good form in the VFL. Gavin Urquhart's now back from a hamstring injury and has played a lot at half-back in the past. So, we've got quite a few options there. Cam Pedersen can play forward and back. Robbie Tarrant's played centre half-back. So we've got a decision to make there, and we haven't made it. We'll train today and then make that call. But we think we've got a flexible enough side to be able to cover for those 2.
Handy out for them,
Yeah, look, it's disappointing for Adelaide. He's an important player to their forward structure, but with Dangerfield and Tippett and these sorts of guys that they can slot into their forward line, and I saw Bernie Vince play pretty well in the SANFL on the weekend. So Andy Otten has played 2 games back in the SANFL. So they've got some pretty talented players to come in. And losing Walker won't help, but they've got some pretty handy possible inclusions.
Thanks,
All right, guys.
Thanks.